Right, our last action in Access is that we need to complete a report. It does not qualify for marks if it's incorrect, meaningless. So, a relevant, meaningful report. It needs to be sorted according to at least one field, grouped according to at least one field, and it needs to have at least one meaningful calculation using a function. And that can be either in the report or the group footer. So I'll show you my example. I decided to work out who will be responsible for the additional costs. So you're going to group according to something that actually has a repetitive value, right? So gender could work, sector could maybe work in this instance, although it varies a little bit too much. Bearing the additional cost, who has a reduction, that could also work. Perhaps working from home, one of these, but I would say those would be the better ones that I've discussed now. Reduction, bearing additional costs, or the gender. And then you sort according to something that actually makes sense as well. You could sort according to age, you could sort according to the monthly additional costs or something like that. So what I've done is I used the who's bearing the costs. That's the one that I grouped according to. And I sorted in descending according to their additional expenses. And I just also listed their occupation and the sector that they are working in. I then did a group calculation of the average additional expenses. Now, just so that you know, I've applied additional formatting just to make it look nice and just to practice my skills. You don't have to do that. There are no marks for that, but it's always good to just practice your skills wherever you get a chance so that you're ready when the exam comes. So well done. We're officially done with phase 2. I would actually still really recommend that you finish this video, because what we need to do now is we need to finish something up that we're really going to not remember if we get to phase 3. And that is making our claims or arguments or findings and using the data from phase 2 to support it. Okay, so if you want to leave this to phase 3, you can by all means, but just know that you're probably not going to remember enough to actually write a decent finding about it. So now is definitely a better time to do it. So what we need to do is you go back to phase 1 and you're actually going to copy your phase 1 document and you paste it in phase 2 under report. Open that up, and now you go down to your findings heading. Now what we need to do is we need to make at least 3 relevant, appropriate findings related to the investigation. And what we're going to use is we're going to support it by the data and the information that we actually gathered in phase 2. All right. So what you'll do here is you'll open your phase 2 final spreadsheet where you've got your graphs, and you're going to copy 3 of your graphs or 2 of your graphs. It's up to you. What we need to do is we need to make 3 findings. So you can decide whether you want to use your report as a finding, whether you want to use 1 or 2 of your queries as a finding, or whether you want to use just your graphs. But basically what we're going to do is whatever you're going to use from your phase 2 will just be the evidence for your finding. So we'll copy our chart and I'm going to paste it in the findings. Now you can choose, it should work if you use the destination theme. You could also paste it as a picture. It's up to you. I forgot to mention that if you did your project in a different language than you did your questionnaire, it would be a good idea now at least to change the headings and to change the labels so that it matches your final report. So this will be the proof, and now you need to make a finding. A finding will be some kind of deduction that you can make. So you can't just say one can see how much productivity was influenced from working from home. You actually have to say that 3/4 of your respondents had an increased productivity from home, and only 4% of the respondents experienced a decreased productivity. So therefore, it's clear that it's better for people to work from home. So you'll see I've got an interpretation from what I can see from my graph, and then I have a deduction. So if I actually consider this, what conclusion can I actually draw from that? This isn't a conclusion for my whole report, but what impact does that have? What decision can be made based on that? Right, because it's supposed to contribute toward the solution. Here's an example from a query. So this is my calculated query, where I first state what I actually found. So this is just interpreting the query itself. And then I actually make some kind of recommendation relating to the solution for the problem. Something about going forward that I think government needs to step in and protect employees because they are bearing too much of the cost themselves. Lastly, what we need to do is to actually give these graphs and queries, whatever proof it is that you pasted, give them captions. So insert captions that actually relates to the name or the purpose of this specific graph or query or report, whatever proof it is that you provided. Now would also be a good time to include hyperlinks to your actual spreadsheet when you're talking about your phase 2 research or about your database. And you could also refer to the figure 2 using a cross-reference, since that is also awarded a mark. So at the moment we've got this, you can actually click and go to the spreadsheet, and you can click and go to the Access database, and we've put in cross-references to make it clear which figure we are talking about. You can ask your teacher if there's any specific way in which you can format these cross-references to make it easier to find. Perhaps in my class, I'd say maybe make it italics to make it easier to see. Alright guys, so not only have we completed phase 2, we've also done 4 marks for phase 3. Actually, not only 4, we've also done this hyperlink one and this hyperlink on, because we've done external data as well. So we are really well on our way. We've got 22 out of the 48 marks for phase 3 already, even though we haven't even started in our phase 3 files, and we are done with phase 2. I hope you guys are great and that you have a wonderful June holiday and that this helped.